Mr. Cho has managed to make 12.1 in time. If not, I'm sorry. Okay, so let's go. Skin structure. Okay, now, as mentioned yesterday, right, the skin is actually the largest organ in our body, right? So there are two functions of the skin over here. It helps to, the skin helps to regulate our body temperature. Please highlight. And number two, it actually helps in excretion. You need to know which part does the regulation of body temperature and which part does excretion. Though that's why I say at the bottom, we must first understand our skin structure, then we can understand how, okay, it actually does how it actually regulates our body temperature and actually plays a role in excretion. Okay, so okay, look at this very seemingly complicated diagram below, but chill, okay? Let's take it step by step. Now, the skin actually is composed of two parts. Okay, can you see over here at the left of your diagram? There's the epidermis and then the dermis. So epidermis is that top two layers here, the one in dark brown and purple and dark purple. That's your epidermis, and there's your dermis, the whole part in brown. Okay, so one can observe ridges or papillae. Can you see like on top, like wow, like got ridgy like mountain like that? This part when Mr. Cho's mouse is hovering on, right? It's called ridges. Okay, so yeah, that's one thing that you can observe, and that the dermis layer has a rich supply of nerves and blood capillaries. Okay, so you see the red color parts there in the diagram, like here and like here. Yep, there's actually a lot. So in this diagram, it's simplified. It's only showing one. Okay, can So the structures involved in temperature regulation are these highlighted in the red boxes, right? So there are a total of five. Okay, five that are involved in temperature regulation. Okay, so shall we just get straight into it? Okay, so number one, we have your blood vessels. Now, the blood vessels are present in the dermis layer. Okay, not in the epidermis, in the dermis layer. So that's a, yep. Okay, then this is the important one. That's why I started highlight it. Now, you know your artery, right? Got arteriole, the small artery. Inside got a very thick layer of muscle. So can you see how the chapters are relating to one another and how they can test you? Okay, there's actually a thick layer of muscle where now when that muscles contract, right, it can actually cause the arterioles to constrict, okay, and dilate. Okay, it can go smaller, it can go bigger, right? So this helps to regulate the body temperature. We'll touch more on this next week. So the dilation of arterioles is called vasodilation. Okay, vasodilation, that's a key word. So we've learned things like homeostasis, negative feedback, right? Vasodilation, that's another word you need to know here. So more blood is being sent to the blood capillary. So you know sometimes you see your oppa, sarang here, then you start to blush, all this, right? What's happening there? Vasodilation, okay, when you blush, because more blood is being sent there. However, sometimes we're very pale, like wow, after a huge run or something. Why? Because your arterioles there have constricted, okay, and then that's called vasoconstriction. So less blood is being sent there, that's why you look more pale. Okay? So here, just understand this first. The muscles in the arterioles can constrict and dilate. This can actually cause more blood or less blood to be sent to the skin. Okay? And this can actually affect temperature regulation, which we'll deal with it, you know, when we'll deal with it when the next week comes. Okay? Now, number two. So total we got five, right? These 2 out of 5. You got hair, right? As mammals, we have hair. So hairs are embedded in the dermis, but actually, do you know that they are produced in the epidermis? Okay, so as in the Malpighian layer, Malpighian is the dark purple layer that you see here, okay, sinks into the dermis, okay, forming a hollow tube called the hair follicle. So the tube here is called hair follicle. Okay, there's more information in your textbook, but I won't like dwell on details. Most importantly, can you see this brown thing here? That's your hair erector muscles. Okay, they are attached to the hair follicle. So this tube, the hair erector muscles are attached. So when these muscles contract, do not confuse this muscle with the one in the arteriole. It's a different muscles. Okay, it can cause the hair to stand, right, and the skin around the hair to be raised. This one usually when we cold, right, our hair will stand. Not very effective for us because you see our hair is like hardly standing, but for other mammals, it's very, very effective. Okay, it's because when the hair stand, it can trap air there, especially when the hair is long and thick. So it helps the animal to keep warm. Okay? Number 3, your sweat glands. Mr. Cho got sweaty palm and hands, so I got it from my dad and my grandma and all that. But you also, as in like, it's a genetic condition, but never mind, then we'll talk about it another time. But yes, each sweat gland is actually a coiled tube that forms a tight knot in the dermis. So can you see the picture here? Over here, you see how the blood capillaries are intertwined, okay, with the sweat glands here. There's a tight knot in the dermis and it's surrounded by many blood capillaries. So, your sweat gland, I mean, you know by now gland actually gives out something, right? So as in then there's a sweat duct. So the sweat flows through a sweat duct into the sweat pore that opens at the skin surface. Okay, so your sweat is water with small amounts of urea, right? So since it has metabolic waste products, the skin is considered as an excretory organ. Okay, so help to regulate temperature and excretion, right? Your sweat glands are the ones, okay, that actually is the reason why our skin is also considered an excretory organ. Okay, note that sweat is secreted continuously, so it's a way that our skin regulates our body temperature. Okay, quite a beautiful mechanism if you think about it. Now, number 4, okay, your sensory receptors or thermoreceptors. Okay, so follow me closely. Okay, the structure in the body that detects stimulus, right, are called sensories. You know, like for example, when you touch, you can feel, or it's hot, you can feel, right? Now, can you see just beside the sweat pore here, there's this black color things here. Down there highlight thermoreceptors, right? Now, thermoreceptors is part of this bigger group over here called sensory receptors. So the nerve endings in the skin, right, are sensory receptors. So they help us feel pain, pressure, and temperature from the external environment, right? If I poke that out of pain, if you press, got someone pressing on me, and sometimes, hot, cold, right? So thermoreceptors are only one example that are listed here. So this also could be pain receptors or pressure receptors. But thermoreceptors you see here are only an example. Okay, the reason why they highlighted thermoreceptors is because they want to talk about temperature regulation later on. Okay, so receptors that detect change, temperature change are thermoreceptors. Got it? Okay, last but not least, okay, the 5th structure in the skin that helps in your thermoregulation, and a lot of people are trying to lose more of it, is actually your fat layer. Okay, so your epidermis, your dermis, right, with all these things inside, and then below there's your fat layer. You can either call it the subcutaneous fat layer or adipose tissue. Both are fine, whichever you want to call. Adipose means fat. Okay, so below the dermis are several layers of fat cells where fat is stored. Okay, so this fat will serve as an insulating layer, reducing heat loss. Okay, so when it's cold, more fat means help to keep warm. Okay, how to regulate temperature. Okay, so 5 structures, you got to know what the 5 are. Okay, your blood capillaries, your hair, right? Your sweat glands. And then we just talked about the sensory receptors. Most importantly, they want to talk about thermoreceptors and subcutaneous fat, okay, or adipose tissue. Okay, that helps to regulate your helps to regulate your body temperature. So with that, it lands us here in Quick Check 12.1. This question, I lifted it straight off your TYS, okay, and I edited it a little bit, right? So you start to see how they actually test, homeostasis in your O-level exams. Okay, so once you try, okay, we'll see how next week, and then let's just see how you guys do. Please do the questions, okay? Because science, as in the more you do, the more you expose yourself, and the more you work hard and write down is for your benefit. Okay, don't come back to me with an empty questions. Okay, so got to go already. Okay, I'll see you guys soon. Bye.